yangu yatakuwa machache kwa sababu mengi yamezungumzwa, lakini wazungu wanaita, Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka kuongezea kuhusu county assemblies. Kuna miswada ambayo iko kule county assembly ambayo haijaona mwanga wa jua, yaani bado haijawama, zile bills hazijawahi ratibishwa ama hazijawahi andikwa, hazijawahi chapishwa kwa sababu ya msongamano wa miswada mingi ambayo iko kule. Lakini kwa ufupi tu nilikuwa nazungumzia kuhusu barter trade. Kuna mswada ama kuna bili moja ambao kule Kilifi ipo, ama ni vile tu haijatokezwa, manake haijachapishwa, na kuchapishwa kwake itakuwa na shida kwa sababu tunaamini, kwa mfano mti wa mogoka kule Kilifi unapendwa sana, na sisi tulikuwa tunataka tuwe na mswada wetu kule ambao utachapishwa na utasema kwamba watakaoleta mogoka nao wabandikwe magunia ya nazi, basi wapeleke kule wanakotoka pia, ili sisi pia watu wa Kilifi tuwe tunafaidi kutokana na bidhaa nyingine zinazotoka sehemu zingine, kaunti zingine. Hilo ni la kwanza. Na pili, kuna wale ambao wanaoana kwa sijui ni kotini, sijui ni kwa DC. Na wakati wameenda kule huwa kuna muda fulani unapeanwa pale kwamba baada ya muda huu basi mnaruhusiwa kuoana, na mara nyingi ule muda huo umeachwa ili inachapishwa kwanza, alafu baadaye ndo watu wanaruhusiwa kuoana, na utakuta huo uchapishaji unachukua muda mpaka wengine wanaamua kuoana vile vile, alafu wakishaoana baadaye ndo inajulikana kwamba huyu mtu ameoa lakini alikuwa na hili na lile, labda ilikuwa hajalitimiza ama alikuwa na familia nyingine kando, ambapo hilo lingeepukika kama ule uchapishaji ungetoka kwa wakati unaofaa ili watu wakajipanga kifamily. Kwa hivyo nami pia vile vile kama wenzangu walivyochangia, naunga mkono kwamba kuna kazi zitaongezeka, manake kuna wasomi wengi ambao wamesoma, vipaji wanavyo lakini kazi hawana. Kwa hivyo naamini pia itaongeza uajiri wa kazi, na pia vile vile miswada yetu itakuwa inapita haraka. County assemblies wataweza kuwa na bills ama watakuwa na miswada mingi ya kisheria ambayo itakuwa inasaidia wananchi wetu, na pia vile vile itakuwa tumepeleka huduma mashinani. Nafikiri ndio maana ya ugatuzi. Asante.
So Takangata, next time make sure you get at least a card. It's easier. So you're the last one on this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I apologize for that. Let me take this opportunity to endorse this bill. It's a timely bill, as correctly stated by other colleagues. It will ensure counties process many legislations at a shorter time frame. The reason being that currently it has to publish from various governmental organizations, the executive, judiciary, also from parliament, and therefore it makes sense if you are to devolve these services. Mr. Speaker, when you look at Article 6 of the Constitution, it expressly provides that the county governments and the national governments, they are independent and also interdependent. That means, strictly speaking, every county should have several matters devolved at their level. You don't have to keep on making reference to the national governments. Particularly when you look at the several important functions that have been bestowed on the county governments, Mr. Speaker, sir. Schedule 4 of the Constitution indicates, among other duties or roles of county governments, they include agriculture, that is coffee, tea, such, milk. They include health services, and therefore such important functions, you need to give counties the power to make decisions and legally gazette those decisions, and that is why I support this bill. But there are areas that can be improved, Mr. Speaker, sir. One area is who are the officials who have the legal duties to issue a gazette notice at the county level. According to this bill, it is proposing the governor, the CEC, some CECs, the speaker, some of those officials, they may be subject to adverse gazette notices. Take, for instance, an impeachment of a speaker, an impeachment of a governor, and therefore it goes without saying a governor or a speaker most likely will not gazette his own removal from office. And therefore, in such instances, we need to amend this bill so that you either transfer that functions to the national level, where adverse gazette notices needs to be signed. Otherwise, they will most likely sit on those decisions, and that will not happen. The second issue is the issue of publicity surrounding gazette notices. Mr. Speaker, sir, for a gazette notice to have some effect, for some social and political and economic effect, it needs to be publicized. We have looked at this bill. It provides that these gazette notices can be in electronic form, but the word used there is may, meaning there is no legal compulsion for various counties to be gazetting these notices electronically. I would propose that we amend and we drop the word may. In its place, we insert the word shall, so that these gazette notices can be available electronically. That way, we increase the number of people who can access these notices once this bill becomes law. Another area, Mr. Speaker, sir, we need to consider is who is going to foot the bill, the cost for establishing these offices. Is it the national government or the respective county governments? That needs to be expressly provided for. I would imagine it is the respective county governments, so that it doesn't entail an extra burden on the national government. Finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, county governments, they do an important role, particularly on matters agriculture. I come from an area that coffee is very important, tea is very important in Murang'a County. Also, the people of Murang'a are very good business people. Mr. Speaker, sir, also milk is also one of our most important agricultural products. And therefore, I look forward to the day when this bill will be law, so that the CC in charge of agriculture in Murang'a can be able to print or issue a gazette notice as soon as possible whenever there is a progressive bill concerning matters agriculture has been passed by respective county assembly. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also look forward to the passage of this bill so that Murang'a County, whenever there are issues concerning health that needs to be gazetted, those issues can be done as soon as possible without awaiting the ratification by the government printer here in Nairobi. That way, we make Murang'a County more efficient, we make services to the people of Murang'a more easily available, as opposed to making reference to an office that is way up here in Nairobi. As I finalize, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think when I look at Murang'a County government, the way it is being mismanaged, the problems it is currently having, I strongly believe that a government that is fully in charge of its affairs at that local level would definitely improve services at the county level. With those few remarks, I support, but I propose those amendments. Thank you.
Okay, I now call upon the mover to reply. Senator Petronila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to reply and thank the following senators for their worthy contributions to this bill. Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., who was magnanimous enough to second the bill, Senator Moses Wetangula, Senator Dr. Langat, Senator Mwaruma, Senator Professor Kindiki, Senator Dr. Musuruve, Senator Hargura, Senator Orengo, Senior Counsel, Senator Shionga, Senator Mazayo, Senator Kavindu Mudhama, Senator Wario, Senator Mwinyi Haji, Senator Farhia, CPA, Senator Zawadi Christine, and last but not least, Senator Kangata. Mr. Speaker, these senators have expressed themselves on this bill because they have experienced as the people in charge of the counties, they have experienced the various frustrations that counties are going through. They have expressed themselves on the issue of authenticity of the documents that counties governments produce or publish, and that having the county printer in place will also give authenticity to those documents. The Office of the County Attorney, Mr. Speaker, that is already established by a law that was passed by this House, will be working closely with the Office of the County Printer to ensure the constitutionality of the bills that will be published by the government, by the county printer. Most of the senators have expressed the frustration of the heavy load that is at the government printer, and that makes them very draconian in their way of operation, and that they actually give least priority to the county business in the job cards that they provide. And Mr. Speaker, there's also suggestions on having a Kenya Gazette that is decentralized in a manner that has Kenya Gazette Isiolo Division, Kenya Gazette Bungoma Division, Busia Division edition, and Kenya Gazette other county editions. This we shall consider as we shall be looking at the various amendments that have been proposed by various senators. Mr. Speaker, the senators also indicated that Article 6 of the Constitution, this was profferred by Professor Kindiki, provides for decentralization of government services. And Mr. Speaker, decentralization or devolution is a reality of the Constitution since we promulgated it in 2010. And therefore, citizens have a right to access information, public information, and having a government printer gives them that right. That administrative action documents are therefore required to be formalized so that we have we have an opportunity to access authorized documents. Most of the senators, Mr. Speaker, also indicated how late this bill is when we are 9 years into devolution, going through the second edition of devolution, and we should not get into the third devolution edition without this bill having put in place. Senator Hagura, Mr. Speaker, said that emphasized the fact that there was already a constitutional requirement for Parliament to enact such a law to actualize the establishment of a government or of a county printer, and therefore the essence of this law. He requested that there be collaboration with the national government printer, which is already in this law as passed, and the various reports that will be passed to the National Law Reporting Council to ensure standardization and some quality control. Mr. Speaker, there are also calls to work on the authorized persons. The amendments proposed by Senator Farhi and Senator Faki to make sure that on the list of authorized officers we make exemptions for cases of impeachment. The senators also emphasized the need for the county printer for the access to information by the public, which I've already outlined. Senator Faki emphasized the timely publications that we shall soon see once this has come into place. Senator Zawadi expressed the frustrations at the County Assembly, having been once also a member of the County Assembly, on the issues of, for example, annulment of marriages that I presume is common in that area. And this bill therefore calls for various applications to make sure that the uniqueness of each county is expressed in the publications that will be in the county printer. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the senators for their contributions to this bill and assure them that the amendments they have proposed will be considered and included in the bill when we'll be doing the amendment stage. Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply and ask that pursuant to Standing Order 61.3, I beg that the putting of the question be deferred to a later day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator Petronila Were. I appoint tomorrow afternoon as the time for putting the question. Next order.
Order number 21, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 31 of 2020, second reading.
Senator Kibiru.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Amendment Bill number 2020 be now read the second time. I can wait for the Speaker to sit so that I can defer to the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 31 of 2022. Thank you. The principal, Mr. Speaker, of the principal object of the bill is to amend Section 7 and 9 of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Act, number 10 of 2011, to provide for notification in the Gazette of the expiry of the term for the commissioners of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission that had been nominated in the original bill, and to provide for the timelines for the filling of the vacancies in the commission upon the expiry of the commissioners. Mr. Speaker, you realize we normally have what probably the legal fraternity will call a lacune whenever that position has arisen before, because we could not, there were no timeliness in executing the above issues. Mr. Speaker, Clause 2 of the bill proposes to amend Section 7(2) of the Act to require that nominating bodies undertake their respective selection exercise within 21 days of publication of their advertisement for the vacancy in the Commission. Further, Mr. Speaker, Clause 9 of the bill proposes to amend Section 9 of the Act to list expiry of the term of the office holder under Article 250, subsection 6 of A of the Constitution as a ground upon which a vacancy of the Commission occurs. This will therefore mean that under Section 10 of the Act, the President will be required to give notice of the vacancy in the Gazette notices within 14 days, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, further, again, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, as established under Article 230 of the Constitution, is mandated to set and regularly review the remuneration and benefits of the all state officers, and Mr. Speaker, to advise the national and county governments on the remuneration and benefits of all the public officers. The composition of the Salary and Remuneration Commissions, Mr. Speaker, ensures that each sector affected by the decision of the Commission nominates members to serve in it. In this regard, Article 230 subsection 2 provides that the Commission is to compromise of the following. One, Mr. Speaker, a chairperson who can be of any gender. One person nominated by each of the following bodies from among the persons who are not members or employees of these bodies: Parliamentary Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, the Judicial Service Commission, the Teacher Service Commission, the National Police Service Commission, the Defense Council, and the Senate on behalf of the county government, one person each nominated by an umbrella body representing trade unions, an umbrella body representing employers, and a joint forum of professional bodies as provided by the legislation. One person each nominated by the Cabinet Secretary responsible for finance and the Attorney General. And finally, Mr. Speaker, one person who has experience in management of human resources in the public service, nominated by the Cabinet Secretary responsible for public service. Mr. Speaker, Section 9 of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission provides for the vacancy in the membership of the commission as follows. 9 vacancies, 9. The vacancy in the office of the chairperson and member, which follows that the office of the chairperson or a member of the commission shall become vacant if the holder, 1, dies, by notice in writing, addressed to the president resigns from the office, is removed from the office under any of the circumstances specified in Article 251 and Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and after that, the president shall notify every resignation, vacancy, or termination in the Gazettes within 14 days. Mr. Speaker, it may be noted that expiry of the term of the commissioner is not listed as the ground which may occasion a vacancy in the office of a commissioner or a chairperson. As such, there was no specific requirement for notification of the vacancy resulting from the expiry of term in the Gazette within 14 days, as is provided for vacancies arising from the circumstances contemplated under Section 9, subsection 1. In 2018, the Senate participated in nomination of a representative to SLC on behalf of the counties. It is during this exercise that the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget noted these legislative gaps within the law. It was noted that once the term of the commissioners expires, there is no common communication. There is no common communication. Notify the relevant bodies or start nomination process. In fact, each of the nominating bodies conducted its process at different timings, depending on when they got information on the need to nominate a representative. Mr. Speaker, it is in this background that led the committee to resolve to institute the amendment to SLC Act to ensure when the term of the commissioner expires, there is a gazettement of the same and notification of nominating bodies to conduct the process within the set timelines. The procedure of nomination of members of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission is set out in Salaries and Remuneration Act. In this regard, Section 6 of the Act provides as follows. Every nominating body under Article 232B and C of the Constitution shall nominate its representative to the Commission in a competitive and transparent manner in accordance with Section 7. A person shall be qualified for nomination under Article 232 and D or E of the Constitution unless such person holds the qualifications specified. Pardon, Mr. Speaker, a person shall not be qualified for nomination under the said article unless such person holds the qualifications specified in Section 7. Section 7(1) of the Salaries and Remuneration Act provides that within 14 days of the commencement of this act or of the occurrence of a vacancy in the commission relating to the members under Article 232B and C of the Constitution, the relevant nominating body shall advertise at least in 2 local daily newspapers of national circulation, invite applications from persons who qualify for nomination under the Constitution, and this act for nomination as a member of the Commission. Mr. Speaker, Section 7(2) of the Act further provides that the relevant nominating body shall consider the applications received under subsection 1 to determine their compliance within the provision of the Constitution and this Act, within the provisions of the Constitution and this Act. Interview the applicants and forward the names of 2 persons who qualified who shall be of opposite gender, Mr. Speaker, to the Cabinet Secretary for honor and transmission to the President. Section 10 of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Act provides for the filling of the vacancies of membership of the Commission as follows. Filling of the vacancy, where a vacancy occurs in the membership of the Commission under Section 9, the appointment procedures provided for under the Constitution and the Act shall apply. A member appointed under Section 1 shall serve for a term of 6 years but shall not be eligible for reappointment. Mr. Speaker, while Section 7 requires that the selection process commences 14 days of the occurrence of the vacancy, the Act did not provide a mechanism for notification of the vacancy to nominating bodies when the term of the commissioners expires. Without a single notice to all nominating bodies, each body took note of the vacancy at its own time and then commenced the nomination process. A notification of a vacancy in the Gazette was therefore necessary to prompt simultaneously nominating process by all the bodies required to nominate commissioners to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. In addition, the Salaries and Remuneration Act did not provide for timeliness for the process of the selection of the commissioners. That was indeed even evidenced by the selection process that followed the expiry of the term of the immediate former commission on 15th December 2017. The various nominating bodies commenced a selection process that at different times and by 12th June 2018, 6 months later, the selection of all nominees under Article 230 of the Constitution had not been completed. Additionally, all the nominees would be required to be approved by the National Assembly under Article 250 of the Constitution. And delay in the selection process, therefore, delayed the entire appointment process, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the bill, therefore, sought to provide for a timely appointment of commissioners following the expiry of terms of the presiding commission, so as to ensure that matters relating to salaries and remuneration of state and public officers were not unduly delayed due to the absence of commissioners. Mr. Speaker, this is a straightforward amendment, and is an amendment that the Committee of Finance and Budget realized it was very critical, because like you have noted, Mr. Speaker, and there was a lapse of about more than 6 months before we could be getting new commissioners, and that meant people who are employed by some institutions could not be able to get their due letters, and they could not be processed so that they could commence working for this nation. So, Mr. Speaker, this is an indication, and I want to thank my members of the committee and the Secretariat for identifying this gap after carrying out that process that was tedious, because we did not have timelines. It was a laissez-faire, Mr. Speaker, and so the committee did decide that we need to fill in that gap. And precisely this is the work that we were brought into this House to be able to do. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a milestone for the Senate, because here we are. We saw a gap that had existed for some time, and we are up to task, and we are requesting that the senators will support this amendment so that we can fill in that gap. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, it is important to acknowledge the participation or the submission by the various stakeholders. Like as per the requirement of the law, in every amendment or in every law that or every bill that you intend to pass, Mr. Speaker, it has always been and it is mandatory that we carry out public participation. Even in this one, Mr. Speaker, we carried out public participation, and in that regard, Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize and acknowledge the submission made by the National Treasury and Planning, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, the KNCHR, the African Women's Studies Center, the University of Nairobi, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission itself, and one great Kenyan who saw it fit to make a submission, one Mr. John Gashoki, a member of the public. That sounds like a man from where I come from. We are always very diligent when looking to this issue, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, without much ado, I beg to I beg to move that the bill be read a second time and request Senator Falia to second.
Senator Faria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to second this bill. Mr. Speaker, as chairman had submitted, this is a very simple amendment. Like he had submitted, when we were doing the recruitment for the Salaries and Remuneration Commissioner on behalf of the counties, we realized that there was no procedure for notification. As in, if a position fell vacant, there is no procedure of, people knowing, the appointing body knowing that there is a vacancy in the first place. So that means delayed recruitment. And then another issue that we noted also, that there was no timelines within which the recruitment all the process should take place and finish. So this is a very simple amendment, and it's a very simple amendment, but it is a milestone for the commission, because this is a critical commission whereby even when a new position is created within government institutions and counties, they have to do mapping in terms of even where they fit in the salary scales and all that. And therefore, if there is no such a body for, let's say, even 2 years, if nobody is notified of it, the vacancy, then what happens? There are clear gaps, and there is people of Kenya will be denied the services that they require. And then in terms of regulation, in terms of harmonization, so all the functions that are performed by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission will be held. I don't want to belabor on, because these are very simple procedure, just 2 amendments. So I don't see there's a lot to do with it, but it is fundamental in terms of the functioning of this commission. And therefore I wish to join my chairman in thanking the Senate Committee of Finance as well as the Secretariat for always being top-notch in terms of even performance in this Senate. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I beg to second and support.
Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that Salaries and Remuneration Commission Amendment Bill 2020 be now read a second time. Senator Kangata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to support this bill. Reason being that Salaries and Remuneration Commission is an important commission in this Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, there are several constitutional commissions that were established by the 2010 Constitution. They include Teacher Service Commission, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and now this Salaries Commission. The key role of this commission is to ensure public wages, they do not spiral out of control. It does a review of public servants. It analyzes what amounts of money they need to be paid. It makes a recommendation to the Treasury, to the National Assembly, and it is usually involved in collective bargaining agreements between unions and the government, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, without this commission, you would find a situation where vast majority, the highest proportion of our taxes, they go to pay recurrent expenditure as opposed to capital expenditure. As a result, Mr. Speaker, sir, there will be no development. There would be no roads, there will be no building of new hospitals, there will be no bursaries, but you'll be finding all money is going to pay what we call recurrent expenditure, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, without this commission, you would find a situation where public wages constitute a very huge proportion of the country's gross domestic product. In a manner, then, the government becomes so expansive. The private sector is crowded out. But this commission ensures there is a neat demarcation of the extent to which the country's monies can go towards paying public emoluments, Mr. Speaker, sir. And therefore, this amendment is proposing to establish clear timelines within which commissioners should be appointed, recruited, vetted, and be in office, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'm aware there was a time when, for 8 months, Kenya did not have commissioners. And therefore, the whole idea, which has been brought by the chair of the relevant committee, is to create and establish timelines within which we should be having commissioners already settled into place, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, public sector's unions, they play a very important role. That is the Kenya National Union of Teachers, the University Union, and other unions. But on the other hand, we must also remember that the monies that we have, which we keep them in what we call the consolidated fund, is not a bottomless pit. There is a limit. And therefore, we need to have this commission functioning properly, constituted as soon as there exists a vacancy, to avoid a situation where we do not have a commission to set ceiling for public payments. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am aware also even this parliament, it has been pushing for higher salaries. And with all due respect, of course, members they have the right to agitate for higher salaries, but we must not allow Parliament to push for salaries that oppress the common mwananchi, the taxpayer. Mr. Speaker, sir, my heart goes out to the millions of unemployed young people who don't even have a salary. Mr. Speaker, sir, my heart goes out to the millions of Boda Boda riders, to the millions of hawkers, to the millions of farmers who don't have a constant salary. Those of us who are in public service, like us parliamentarians, civil servants, we should be thanking God we have a salary at the end of the month. Mr. Speaker, sir, and therefore, even as we push for more salaries in those of us who are in parliament, let us also remember the majority of taxpayers who pay value-added tax, who pay, I don't know, sales tax, I don't know, income tax, they do not have a regular salaries. And therefore, the work of Salaries Commission need to be appreciated. Otherwise, you will have what we call accosteted insiders. That is, those of us who are in regular government jobs. Our salaries will be enhanced so much to the detriment of the common taxpayers, the mamamboga, the boda boda, the farmer in Muranga, the avocado farmer, the macadamia farmer in Muranga, the tea farmer, the coffee farmer, the tea farmer. There'll be overtax. And we will be having a situation where all those taxes are going to pay public servants. And that is why I strongly support the work of Salaries Commission to ensure that they do a good evaluation. Salaries are being paid on the basis of productivity, not on the basis of the power to push government. Let us pass this proposal, this amendment, so that we encourage the Commission to be setting salaries based on productivity. How many hours do you go and work in the office? I love the The people who have small kiosks or small shops, think of that shopkeeper near your estate. That shopkeeper often opens the duka from 5 p.m., is it 5 a.m. in the morning? And that shopkeeper will close at about 10 or 11 p.m. in the evening. That shopkeeper does not have a regular income or a fixed salary. But those of us like us parliamentarians, we have a regular income which is being paid by the taxes collected from that shopkeeper. And therefore, to the extent Salaries Commission caps our salaries, it makes sense. It is to help, to think, to champion the interest of that Mama Duka or Baba Duka or a shopkeeper who opens his Duka from 5 a.m. up to 10 p.m. without knowing where the customers will come from, without a guaranteed income at the end of the month, and therefore let's support this amendment to strengthen the work of Salaries Commission. As I finalize, Mr. Speaker, sir, I urge this country to mind more of the common wananchi who are suffering out there. Let us think of unemployed young people, even as we push for salaries. Those of us who are pushing for more salaries, at least we have an income. What about the millions unemployed young people, Mr. Speaker, sir? Those of us who are in government who are pushing for more salaries, it is okay, of course, you need to be paid well. But what about those people who work 7 days a week, almost 24 hours in a day? Think of a boda boda rider. His income is not guaranteed. He wakes up at about 4 a.m. He sleeps at about midnight. And he works from Monday to Monday. So therefore, please, when that boda boda rider goes to pay or to purchase petrol, there will be VAT. That VAT is the one that is going to be used to pay our salaries. Please, let us allow Salaries Commission to peg our income on productivity so that I'm paid according to my contribution to the work. I wish Salaries Commission was here. All senators who are not here, they should not get something, you see? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I wish the Salaries Commission would come and take a jute roster. It says, yeah, no, I'm serious, Mr. Speaker, sir. So that you say...
Senator Faria?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senator Kangata, in order to say those members who are not here, not to be paid, and yet he's not here most of the time, and I haven't finished, and you were not here last time. We say these are bills that are coming back second time. We stick to the relevance of the amendment and stuff so that we save on time, so that we pass most of the bills on time, and therefore I request Senator Kangata to be relevant to this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kibiru, I see an intervention.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, is it in order for my friend Senator Kangata, a very good friend of mine, to insinuate that people are not in the Senate when he is aware, when he was absent, when he has been away? We agreed that we will be doing a hybrid. If you look in the Zoom, we must be having half of the senators, and because of COVID protocols. So because this is a House of Record, I think it is very important that Mr. Kangata acknowledges that we are operating a hybrid system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed, Senator Kangata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. When I said here, I meant both physically and virtually. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, also to respond to my leader here, I think Mzalendo, they issued a report, and I was ranked among the most active senators last year. So even this year, I can assure you I'll be in that list also. So don't worry. So be that as it may, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think it is important we support this commission, and I think I'm building into my rationale of supporting this proposal, which is this commission is important. Those of us who are in government, we should allow, you should be paid as per your productivity. I also support efforts that if you want to create more employment opportunities for the young people, you allow for what we call short-term contractual public employment. Yeah, you allow for a 24-hour economy where even government offices, they are open 24 hours. Yeah, and the whole rationale is to urge senators to support this amendment. Thank you, and I support.
Senator Gertrude Msuruvi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this amendment by Senator Charles Kibiru, Chairperson, Committee of Finance and Budget, to amend Section 7 and 9 of the Act. Honorable Speaker, I support this because it is actually important that if there's a vacancy arising in the commission, then it should be something that is very transparent, and it should even be in the Kenya Gazette that a vacancy has arisen. Now, it is that publication in the Gazette that will trigger the next step that will eventually lead to nomination of a candidate. And when it is, Honorable Speaker, protect me from these senators, kindly. Protect me. I need to be heard because this bill is very important and Kenyans are listening.
Other senators consult in all tones. Proceed, Senator Msuruvi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. So I want to say that this bill is very important. There is an issue that Senator Kibiru is bringing on the floor of this House that really needs a lot of, interrogation and eventually implementation. That when it comes to a vacancy, among commissioners, and not only in the Salaries and Remuneration Board, it should be all over, that this vacancy should be in the Kenya Gazette. And why should it be in the Kenya Gazette? Because the Kenya Gazette is a valid instrument. It is an instrument that actually can be supported even in a court of law. And it is an instrument that is permanent, the Kenya Gazette. It informs, it is authentic, and so when this information is in the Kenya Gazette, then that is when other procedures can follow, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, when it comes also to filling these vacancies, I'm happy that the bill is talking about it should be in the Kenya Gazette within 28 days of the vacancy. And it is very clear when a vacancy can arise among commissioners. It can arise maybe if a commissioner dies. A vacancy can also arise in a situation when maybe the commissioner resigns, or a vacancy can even arise in a situation where the commissioner has not been able to comply with Article 6 of the Constitution. And so when such a vacancy arises, it is just well-meaning that it is transparent, it is in the Kenya Gazette that this vacancy has come up. And also, Honorable Speaker, when a vacancy comes up, then it means that there must be specific time frame, that this vacancy is there, and there must be a specific time frame when the commissioners need to be replaced, Honorable Speaker. It should not just be, a vacancy is there and then a timeline is not given. It should be that when a vacancy is there, it should be filled as fast as possible, Honorable Speaker, so that there is no lacuna when it comes to executing duties. Commissioners have duties that they are actually assigned, and since they are given duties that are assigned to them, then we must have the appropriate number to constitute the commissioners who can be able to delegate duties as they are required by law, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I did mention that this catalyst of beginning the process of nomination is important, the Kenya Gazette. It should be there. Then once the catalyst is there, then the procedure can go on. As in the National Assembly, the names are given, and when they are given, they are gazetted, by the president, and when they are gazetted, then the appointments are done. And Honorable Speaker, even as you talk about appointment of commissioners, we must adhere to the principles that are very important for national value. We must adhere to the principles of two-thirds gender rules. We must ensure that even the number of people constituting the commissioners adheres to the two-thirds gender rule, Honorable Speaker, so that every gender is represented. Honorable Speaker, we must also adhere to the principle of equity, Honorable Speaker. And I want to see a situation where even we have a PWD, a deserving PWD being a commissioner, Honorable Speaker. And that is what we are talking about, equity. That is when we are saying that even persons with disabilities should be mainstreamed. Even in the commission, Honorable Speaker, we need to have a situation where we have even persons with disabilities with papers and deserving, they've been interviewed and been shortlisted and even appointed by the president to be in the commission, Honorable Speaker. That is where the entire world is going to, Honorable Speaker. Mainstreaming persons with disabilities, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that Kenya is among the signatories that signed, all the laws that deal with disability rights and all that. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that it will be a good thing to ensure that the principle of equity is adhered to. Honorable Speaker, apart from the principle of equity, we must also adhere to the principle of regional balancing, Honorable Speaker, so that when it comes to commissioners, Honorable Speaker, they have the face of Kenya. When people look at the commissioners, they see that Kenya is fully represented, Honorable Speaker. So I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that I support this bill, and I hope this bill will see the light of the day and is effected, so that there is no gap when it comes to commissioners. And Honorable Speaker, I'm not only talking about the salaries and remuneration commissioners. I'm talking about all commissioners. Where there's a gap where a commissioner has exited, let it be filled very fast. And it should be procedural, and the procedure should be consistent, so that commissioners of different places, organizations and all that are also actually filled in the same way. There's a need for consistency when it comes to filling up positions of commissioners, Honorable Speaker. And I'm happy also, Honorable Speaker, that there has been public participation on this bill. GEC came on board, other commissions came on board, other organizations came on board. So it is a bill that has the goodwill of Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. I support this bill. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Senator Alice Milgo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this chance also to support this bill. And let me begin by thanking the Finance Committee led by the able Chair, Senator Kibiru, for coming up with this amendment. Very short but very critical. That is amendment to Section 7 and 9 of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Act 2011. Mr. Speaker, sir, Salaries and Remuneration Commission is one of the many semi-autonomous commissions that plays a very critical role in this country. This falls into the same group as the Teacher Service Commission, the Public Service Commission. We have the Independent Electoral IEBC, that is a commission that deals with election, and very many other such commissions, and these commissions are very critical. In fact, this committee were very critical in actually identifying this particular gap that was existing in this particular act. Mr. Speaker, this Salaries and Remuneration Commission came into place to actually assist this country, because before that time, I remember I had not come to Parliament myself, but we used to see parliamentarians waking up each and every day and adding their own salaries at will. It was quite unfortunate. I know high salaries is very interesting, but then it is important to have some kind of check. And I think there was an oversight earlier on when this particular act came into play, because there was no notification to note when the expired term of the commissioners would occur. And in such a case, maybe some row commissioners would even continue for years on end. In addition to that one, there was no timelines even fulfilling, even when the time or even when others retire, or even when others in this case maybe pass on, because that is one of the ways where vacancies can arise, or maybe if one could resign. Mr. Speaker, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, I remember the first chair, Madam Sarah Serem, was beaten black, blue all the time, but that was a strong woman. She stood her ground, and I say that was the strength of a woman. She managed to stand her ground, and eventually Salaries and Remuneration Commission is a very strong body right now, and I'm sure this amendment will go a long way to actually strengthen its job, so that it is actually defined, because right now, go to any area, we find that jobs are of late fully evaluated. I remember a case where one woman housewife was married for over 15 years. She was just a housewife. But then once she went to court, after she was chased away by her husband, in fact, that particular court had to use evaluation from Salaries and Remuneration to actually pay what is accrued to her for the 15 years. That is household. So I'm sure Salaries and Remuneration Commission should continue evaluating all the various jobs. And we were very excited when we saw that issues of being a housewife is now evaluated just like any other job, because Salaries and Remuneration Commission actually set aside, are now setting salaries that is equal pay for equal job done. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am sure with this particular amendment, I'm already seeing that Section 7 is actually setting out that within 14 days, when a vacancy arises, it has specified the mode of advertising the vacancy. It has gone all the way up to number 3. Within that 14 days, when a vacancy has arisen, there must be an advert, and it has also gone on to specify where the advert will be placed. That is both in the newspapers as well as in the media. And I think by so doing, it is actually ensuring that there will be no corruption when it comes to actually filling the vacancies, because this one here will be displayed for all to see. Mr. Speaker, this particular amendment has also specified how many days the National Assembly will have to take to scrutinize those that have been interviewed before passing the names of the President for appointment. Further, the President has also been given the number of days to take, that is 7 days to take before actually nominating the interviews or those who have actually qualified. And in this case, 3 persons will be sent to the President to choose from the best out of this. Mr. Speaker, I think this amendment, despite the fact that it is a very small amendment, will actually fill the lacuna that has existed for a long time. As I was looking at this SRC commission, I was having the feeling that we should have another commission that which will check on issues of borrowing, so that this would be able to check on thefts. I've seen now SRC has really squeezed and ensured that there is no overpayment, no wastage of public funds. And I would wish there will be another commission. I saw somebody coming up with their manifesto for 2022, and I wish to come up with a commission that would actually check on theft borrowing to actually limit the amount of money that a country can borrow, so that we do not borrow too much. We lack the implementation, methodology, or in this case, we let the money get lost through corruption, and then at the end of it all, we have the other people who are on the receiving end to pay high taxes in order to repay the money, but there's no service to show for it. Mr. Speaker, sir, once again, let me actually thank this committee for coming up with this amendment. Otherwise, I support the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. Thank you, Speaker. Mine will be brief because my good chairman has spoken on behalf of the committee where we sit. And this is basically a very innocuous amendment on an omission to the bill on vacancies that occur in the commission. At some point, the chairman is going to lead us to a discussion as to whether we still need this commission. I'm not sure whether it has served its purpose insofar as wage bill is concerned. So the discussion should be done at the earliest opportunity. The second one I must raise is as I'm a little disappointed that when we had the opportunity as Senate to have one of our members sit in the Salaries and Review Commission, we chose a member of the National Assembly without knowing. The criteria I shall not mention, but the criteria was, in my honest opinion, fickle. Because if a member of the National Assembly who has served for 5 years can qualify for a position that requires 10 years experience, a senator who has served here for 5 years should equally qualify. But then I have one vote in the Senate, and that is that. So thank you, Chairman, for this amendment. This should be fairly quite simple. Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, I now therefore call upon the mover to reply.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply, and in so doing, I want to thank the members who have contributed. Senator Falia, thank you for seconding the motion and highlighting the very critical issues. Senator Musuluve, Senator Kangata, and all the others who are online. But Mr. Speaker, like I said, this is a House of Record. There are so many of the senators, especially members of the Finance and Budget Committee, who are online. Senator Mutula, thank you. And Mr. Speaker, what has come up is that the Salaries and Remuneration Commission is an important entity in this country. And although, as Senator Kangata was saying, they are trying to moderate our salary, but this is in the spirit of taming the wage bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a straightforward amendment, and without wasting much of the Senator's time and the Senate time, I beg, Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 61-8, I request that putting of the question be deferred to a later date.
Honorable Senators, upon request by the mover, I therefore appoint tomorrow, Thursday, as the date to put the question. Next order.
Order number 22, the County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill, Senate Bills number 32 of 2020, second reading.
Senator Mercy Chebeni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill of 2021, Senate Bills number 32 of 2021, be now read a second time. Mr. Speaker, the principal objective of this bill is to put in place uniform procedures for licensing of various activities by counties. And Mr. Speaker, you realize that one of the ways that county governments generate revenue is through the issuance of licenses for various activities related to the functions of county governments. But Mr. Speaker, you also realize that we have 47 county governments, And with 47 county governments, it means that we have different licensing procedures in this government. So it makes it very difficult to do business across the counties. If, let's say, a person wants to do a business in County A, then it means that he or she will not be able to do it because the procedures there are different from the county that they're coming from, Mr. Speaker. So with lack of uniformity in the procedures, Mr. Speaker, it creates a lot
Senator
of...
Faria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to request my sister to be a bit loud because we can't hear from where I'm seated. And she's moving a very important bill that is very much relevant to this country.
Proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope now you can hear me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So as I was saying, this is a very important bill that seeks to create a certainty when it comes to licensing procedures at the county governments, so that we have one that cuts across the various counties. Mr. Speaker, allow me to now go at the salient provisions of this bill. And at the outset, the bill proposes to set out general duties for licensing authorities, which include providing for mechanisms for simultaneous applications for more than one license. It means, Mr. Speaker, that one can be able to apply for the various licenses at the same time. It also seeks to prevent multiple licensing procedures and ensuring that applicants are given adequate opportunity to make representations on an application for a license. And furthermore, Mr. Speaker, it also seeks to ensure that the licensing authority adheres to timelines. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to timelines, it's very important for any business. When it takes too long for someone to get their licenses, it means that they're losing so much time and it's not good for any business. Yesterday we were looking at the startup bill and we realized that there's so much time wastage. But this bill, Mr. Speaker, seeks to ensure that the licensing authorities stick to the very timelines that has been set out in this bill. Mr. Speaker, Article 6 of the bill provides for the duties and obligations of the county government in exercise of their power to issue licenses. And these duties, Mr. Speaker, include the rights include protecting the rights of consumers in respective county. This means that, Mr. Speaker, as the licensee is proceeding with their business, that consumers are protected, that their rights are protected. The other duty of the county government is to support regulation of developing markets to ensure that the quality of goods produced and services delivered are of high standards, to effectively administer control over persons engaged in types of activities that may pose a risk to the general public, and lastly, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that licensing fees imposed are not prohibitive. Yesterday, as I said, Mr. Speaker, we're talking about startup bills and the way they are struggling with capital. So if we make them pay a lot of licensing fees, it means that we are prohibiting their growth. So this bill ensures that while administering the licensing fees, they do not prohibit the growth of these startups. When you look at Article 7, Mr. Speaker, the bill provides for the applicable procedures in the process of licensing by county governments, and these procedures include a requirement for county governments to put in place a single application process with respect to an application for more than one license. It means, Mr. Speaker, that a person is able to do multiple licensing at the same time. There's no need to have different application processes. The county government is also required to make a determination on an application for a license within 28 days of the application. In the absence of such determination, the application will be deemed to have been allowed, Mr. Speaker. You realize that the issue of timelines is very critical. So with this bill, it's very strict that they will adhere to 28 days so that the procedure doesn't take too long before one is given the determination of the application. Mr. Speaker, when you look at Article 14, the bill provides that upon an application being made, the county government may grant a license and conditionally grant the application subject to conditions authorized by the relevant licensing legislation or refuse the application. So, Mr. Speaker, there are three ways of going about it. You either grant it, grant it or grant it conditionally, meaning that there are things that that needs to be done, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, in any event, the licensing authority will be required to inform the applicant of the decision within 7 days. Mr. Speaker, again, it's very critical when it comes to timelines. 7 days is very key to ensure that the licensee is informed of the decision of the authority, whether they've been granted the license. Mr. Speaker, further, licensing authorities are required to maintain a register of all licenses issued, indicating the pertinent particulars of the license holder and the nature of the license. Mr. Speaker, this is very crucial again, so that we are able to understand the nature of the businesses that is being done by the licensee, or the goods and services done by the licensee. Mr. Speaker, when you look at another provision, the bill requires the holder of a license to provide the service or carry out the business specified in the license. So, Mr. Speaker, there is no shortcut here. The licensee should carry out what they had applied for, to comply with all applicable laws and conditions for the issuance of the license, to provide the licensing authority with information with respect to any change in its directorship or shareholding in accordance with Section 16, to pay such fees as may be prescribed, and to maintain and, where required, submit to the licensing authorities such information as may be necessary for the continued licensing of the license holder. Mr. Speaker, this is very key because it sets out the responsibility of the license holder, that they are supposed to adhere to certain things even as they're being granted the license. Mr. Speaker, the bill also provides that a licensing authority be guided by the following principles in setting out the license fee. The need to ensure efficiency in the delivery of goods and services, accountability, public participation, cross-subsidization, where fees collected for providing a category of goods or services covers the cost incurred in providing the goods and services in other category in accordance with the existing legislation, adherence to the existing policy on the charging and collection of fees, and avoidance of multiple licensing in a specific sector, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, even as I move and ask Senator Musurive to second, the bill seeks to basically create a uniform framework which shall form the basis of licensing processes in the counties. Mr. Speaker, this will guarantee certainty and predictability for business owners trading within counties, and it is vital for the ease of doing business at the county level. Mr. Speaker, all the time we talk about ease of doing business in this country, and I think this bill will go a long way to ensure that we set up a good environment for our businesses at the local county governments. Mr. Speaker, a business environment underpinned by certainty and predictability will definitely boost entrepreneurship. It will create employment opportunities. It will reduce the costs of doing business and promote regular and reliable revenue streams for our county governments. Mr. Speaker, I think I want to now, I beg to move and request Senator Gertrude Musuruve to second.